Hey, good morning. A little different, right? So, like, I want to make sure that I get this email out by 9 o'clock, and I've been working on something all morning, trying to because when I do these emails, it really comes from the heart, and it's a combination of like the week that was, what are we looking for, a bit of a commentary that allows like a personal touch to it, like there is a real person here that's like thoughtfully doing things, because a lot of this collaboration that we have together really is a partnership, right? Like you have to know me, I have to know you, and kumbaya, right? So in spending I don't know how many hours this morning trying to put together like a visualization of like, okay, what's the next step, where are we going, what's the offer, what are we trying to get someone to say yes to, I want to kind of piece it together. And the events that happened yesterday have really just been sticking with me. Like they're really, like I'm not okay with it. And it's putting a lot of added pressure, because you can want to create something and you can on paper do it. You can solve the entire world. But like you need to actually do it, right? Like you can't keep talking. You got to do it. And that's the pressure that I'm weighing with right now, because I want, like, it just needs to get done. So the inspiration for today's email was, we need to move. So what are actionable steps? What is the offer? What does it look like for someone? Like what is it that we're actually even doing? All right, you got this, you got this, you got this. This is cool, this is cool. None of it makes money, and you just need someone to say yes to, right? Sounds awful. But that actually is what it is. So right now we're in my son's room, and of course, like in true Rhino fashion, he has a whiteboard, because it was, like as a new father when my son was born, it was like, I always want to spend time with him. And I knew that before he was born. Like I knew no matter what, I was always going to be with my son. And I wanted to have a whiteboard in the room so that while he was sleeping, I could be working. And, a lot of times I just sit in a chair and stare at a whiteboard and just let it come to me. And I thought, what better place than to see my son sleeping in a crib? And of course, in true Rhino fashion, like, why doesn't he have green lights everywhere, right? Like for anyone that thinks well, I don't know if anyone thinks this, but like, I'm Rhino like all day long. So I guess we're in my son's room. Now, obviously this isn't common. I did this so that I can place the camera up here so that you can see the whiteboard that I've done, and I'll try to present it a little bit. But this is what his room looks like. Like, of course there's rhinos everywhere. He loves Spider-Man, loves dinosaurs, loves cars, has all of his superheroes. In fact, let me go show you Amaris's room. So Amaris is so funny. So of course we have like Frozen and, Minnie Mouse and all the rest. But look at all these rhinos. Like, are you kidding me? And this snake is not like a bad snake. We went to Liberty Science Center and she pet a snake and loved it, right? But of course her room's pink because she's a girl. So that's kind of that, I guess. I live in an apartment, so anyone that thinks like I'm like a millionaire somewhere, hate to break it to you. All right, so let's see what we can do here. I'm just gonna place the phone up here so you can see this whiteboard. Let's see if I can adequately present this. So where we're at the moment is we have the tech is mostly done, but it's done enough that I can say the tech is done. Because any marginal next steps with the tech is already identified and already being worked on. There is no problem we need to solve. There's just steps we need to take. We have the patent that already secures our tech. We have the tech already like coded and done. And it's just next steps. So when I say the tech is done, for all intents and purposes, the tech is done. Even though like you don't have it and I don't have it, right? But like it's done. So what are the next steps? So we are looking for a partnership because we've reached as high as we can go. For TED to properly do or reach the goals that we would like, it needs to be in the hands of a populace. We need to get it in the hands of people. The only way to get it in the hands of people is to go through a large partner that has the financial resources and the populace resources that would be able to facilitate that for us. So like on one end, you could be like, oh, you want to work with Elon, you want to work with Meta, you want to work with all these people. Well, why? Because they have the AI tech in-house, right? Like Llama is over at Meta with Mark Zuckerberg. Grok is over at X, but Tesla with Elon. You have Anthropic which is Claude over with Jeff Bezos at Amazon. So like these places have the large language model we already want. Microsoft has OpenAI, which we're partners with. So they have that. But they also have the populace. They have tons and tons of customers. So if they appreciated and saw what we were doing, they could say, okay, great, let's build it out and let's open it up. So they have that availability. Great. And then they have the money. Money would never be a thing. There's zero issues we would ever have with like, oh my God, we need more money. So they fit the bill. Okay. On the other side is government. You have senators and congressmen and governors and mayors that all have this problem that they need to address. And the difficulty about such a problem that everyone knows they need to address, it's kind of like government bonds. Everyone knows they're insolvent, but everyone knows that simultaneously, therefore, we'll deal with it when we get there, right? So like if I'm a registered representative and I recommend to you a government bond, I can recommend it to you knowing it's completely insolvent because the government's guaranteeing it. Well, Ant, you know it's insolvent. Yeah, but it's not my problem. The government's guaranteeing it and I have to believe the government. And the government and everyone a part of government knows that there will be a day of reckoning and everyone believes the reckoning will be so big, therefore they'll solve it that day. And that's just kind of like the Ponzi scheme that government runs. Fine. The same thing with AI. Everyone knows it's a problem, but nobody has a solution for it, nor does anybody want to disrupt the apple cart to create a solution because elected officials want to stay elected. You don't get elected by telling people things that they don't want to hear, which in the old days where people had like dignity, they would. But for instance, hey guys, we spend too much money, we need to cut back on spending, let's all do it together. People are like, yeah, but you have a $200,000 a year salary. No one believes you. Fine. So the congressmen and the government don't want to even touch this. But it doesn't mean that they don't have the problem. It just means that they don't have a solution that offsets the risk of not being reelected or disrupting their populace. Okay, great. So where do we fit in? We fit into that little lane because I know that we can go to anyone and say, we can solve your problem. In fact, we can solve your problem to such a point that you'll be the shiny hill on the shiny town? No, the shiny city, right? The shiny city on the hill. In fact, we can not only solve your issues, but we will make you our flagship location. Not only will we do that, but then we can make you the example and scale you to the state, to the nation, to the globe. You will go down as the person that was able to see it, to recognize it, and take decisive action to go ahead and protect the populace that everyone else was too cowardly to protect, right? So you see where this is going. So Anthony, if you could make that message, can you back it up? I was just about to sing Juvenile, because I'm 38, and anyway, never mind. For those that didn't get the reference, Juvenile, you'll see it. Back it up. Okay, so first we need to do, the number one step is to get publicly listed. Now, publicly listed is always something that's like a really, really big deal. Oh my God, Ann, no one just gets, listed on the New York Stock Exchange. You're right, they don't. But why do we need to get listed on the New York Stock Exchange? I don't even understand that. It sounds great. I would love a Ferrari. I would love a Lamborghini, but you know what? My entire life got me through with like an Eldorado that was breaking down everywhere. Now I have a Ford Explorer because I have kids. I've never had the fancy car. I don't need the fancy car. It's nice to have the fancy car, but you don't need it, right? You don't need it. So to get publicly listed, what are the options? Well, you have like the New York Stock Exchange, which is creme de la creme. Then you have the NASDAQ. Then you have the over-the-counter, the OTCBs. And in the OTCBs, at the bottom of that, you have the pink sheets. And the pink sheets sound disgusting. Isn't that the Wolf of Wall Street? Yeah. But it's come a long way. It's not like if something's such a Wild West, it stays a Wild West. That's the beauty of being able to identify a problem. When you see it and everyone knows it, and it becomes like they make a movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio, they change SHIT. So in the pink sheets, you have 3 tiers of it. The top tier of the pink sheets is called Pink Sheets, Pink Current, something like that. And what it does, or what it offers, is a very, very minimal requirement to be listed. In fact, we meet all the requirements. You have to be in business for over a year. You have to have over 25 shareholders. You have to have over 1 million shares, blah, blah, blah. You have to have financials. We've done all of this. In fact, looking at it and looking back at it, we could have probably registered for years ago. But but that's okay. We've done it because we have investors. We've always had to keep meticulous books. So I have everything that we already need. Okay, great. How much does it cost? Well, it says, and I did a little research, between 15 and 75,000. Well, that's a big whoop. Now, of course, if we're going to do something that we think is going to be the biggest thing in the world, we're going to do it properly. Anyone that knows me knows I will not spare that expense. So let's say it costs us 100,000 because we want to get the good lawyer, we want to do everything properly, blah, 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 blah. Okay, great, 100,000. How long does it take? 1 to 6 months. Well, if you're going to get the best lawyer and do everything, it stands fair to reason you're probably going to be at the lower end of that 1 to 6 months. So let's say $100,000 and 3 months, we're publicly listed. Okay, great. Now what? Now you have a stock. Now TED is on the market. Now anyone can buy and sell TED. Anyone can see the real-time transactions. Anyone can see the volume. Everyone can see all of that stuff. It's registered, regulated. Cool. Great. Lovely. Great. Once that's done, now we can proceed to our plan. Now the plan is to get a single town to say yes. Now in filtering towns, you have to kind of try to find one that would be a good case study because again, the first one has to be a case study. We have to find a town that represents our best chance to solve what we're trying to prove at the highest probability with the least cost in such a way that we can then scale as a model, right? So you can't go ahead and say, well, I'm going to create a drug that makes fat people lose weight and I'm going to test it on butterflies. Yeah, like maybe you could get a butterfly to lose weight, but it can't scale to the rest, right? So you can't go pick, a little city in like Alaska that has 6 months of no sunlight, right? So stuff like that. And now that I'm speaking live, you get to see a little bit of my analogies or like, okay, I would have edited that in the email, but here I am, and that's fine. So the filter that I believe that makes the most sense is a town that has 10,000 residents. And where that kind of puts you, I guess it's everywhere. Like it doesn't need to be middle America, it doesn't need to be some rural place, it could be anywhere. And that's the point. It needs to be anywhere. It needs to be a town that anyone could say, I've lived in a town like that could be anywhere. And towns like this have your legacy companies, you have your high unemployment, that because people are getting displaced, you have your people that are a little bit upset, you have your bars and pubs that are really like community centers because everyone just wants a beer after work, you have your little league, like you have a main street that's being fractured because people are uncertain to what's coming, but they're still relatively connected and they have hope. They're looking like there's like people go to church on Sundays or temple or wherever, but they practice religion. Okay, great. So let's find somewhere that kind of represents everything, and I think that would represent it. So now let's go into the numbers. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to go to the mayor and say, hey, listen, we're going to do X, Y, Z for you. We would like your permission to create this town into a case study. We're going to cover all of the costs. We're going to do all of the work. This is what we're going to do, and we would just like your support. Because the support that we actually need is that if you want to get TED in everyone's hands, you do kind of need the town to be behind it. Because a town, especially a mayor, has executive power over that town. So you couldn't go ahead and say, hey, listen, I want everyone in your town to buy a gun, right? And we're going to go do a massive campaign. Because the mayor would say, well, listen, I'm not disputing anyone's right to own a gun, but I don't feel comfortable allowing anyone to do a massive marketing campaign to get everyone. Like, I draw the line there. So the point being, if you're going to do anything that's going to affect the livelihood, the standard of living of everyone in a town, you need to have the town on board. Okay. So behind me is a bunch of numbers that I put together that I've accurately researched, but I have rounded to, I don't want to say the extreme, but to a number that is high, that you would say, that's a little bit presumptuous, and that's fine. The point of that number is for you to say, well, that number's presumptuous. Let me go do a little bit of T, and find a number myself. Because what I believe is going to happen, because I've already done the research, is to find that the numbers that I'm offering are actually shockingly valuable. They're not too high. In fact, they're probably right on the mark. In which case, it does offer, this can be done. So, you know what, let me just get started. I'll see where it goes from there, and let's do it together, right? So on the top, plan one is you have to have the pink sheets, right? Pink current, we have it at 100,000. Okay, so we're looking for a town with 10,000 population. We have to be in touch with the mayor. Okay, great. So now, if you're putting TED in everyone's hands, what is the cost of that? What is the cost of each individual's data, because we're going to have to pay for it, right? You're not going to go into town and say, hey, listen, we have this thing, you have no idea what it was, we have no idea what it is, it's going to be great, and now just pay me $25 a month. Because you need to get 100% to say yes, or at least as close to a pathway to 100%. And if you start offering paywalls, there's people that will say, hey, listen, I just don't want to pay for it. And that's fine, that's fine. So $25 a month per person. 12 months is a year, times 10,000 comes out to $3 million, which means out of pocket, TED is going to be spending or investing $3 million immediately into this town to give everyone in the town access to TED. Okay, now this number is interesting because I don't have it in front of me, it's on my computer. I guess I can take the camera there, but just kind of take my word for it. We did a study about a year back when we started launching TED, and took a look at what is the percentage of e-commerce purchases in an individual town. And it came out over the entire United States that the average individual outsources $5,832 worth of spend per year to buying things outside of their town. Now, that seems reasonable, right? Like how much do you buy on Amazon, how much do you do here, there, blah, 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 blah. And more so because the town's getting less businesses and more things are automated and digital. Okay, great. So what does TED do though, right? So I'm not gonna go through the whole pitch of it, but TED is accountable to you. It knows your intents and desires. It then has the ability to make informed recommendations and suggestions based on its intent-based algorithm. It does so at a 95% clip. When you accept 95% of it, it then starts doing autonomous purchases, blah, blah, blah. So the connection is AI commerce. I think I want this. TED knows I think I want this. TED offers it to me. I say yes enough times. TED buys it for me. Person, money, product, right? So it would offset this entire sending money outside of the town. Okay, so let's say we recoup 10% of it. Now, 10% of $5,832 is obviously not $12.82 million. I'm not cuckoo for cocoa. Well, I am, but mathematically, I'm okay. You take that, multiply it by the 10,000 people in the town, and what you get is $583 times 10,000 comes out to what? 5.832 million, something like that. Anthony, that's still not 12.8. I know. The local economy multiplier effect is 6. Well, it's actually 2.89. But so let me explain what that means. So if I am going to, if I'm going to buy shoes and I buy them from Nike on Amazon and I send those $100 outside of my town, it doesn't benefit anyone in my town. It benefits Nike and the shareholders and whatever Nike does. But I've taken money out of my town and I've sent it. I've taken it for Wall Street, I've sent it to I've taken it for Main Street, I've sent it to Wall Street. Okay. But what would happen if I would spend that $100 at the local shoe store? Well, if I spent it at the local shoe store, that $100 would go to the local shoe store owner. That owner would use the money to pay his employees, right? That owner would use that money to invest in his business. All of those local things, like paying an employee, well, let's say the employee is like a 25-year-old man, woman, whatever. Now that person receives a paycheck. That person takes their paycheck and takes their girlfriend, wife, kids, whatever, out to dinner and a movie. That money then goes to those places. Now those places take their money, they go and pay their bills, their employees, they take that so you see how it stays in the town and it multiplies. It multiplies at a 2.89 rate, and if you do that 6 times, so $100 with the reciprocal of 2.8, comes out to like 40. The point being, when you do all that math 6 times over, you get to 12.82 million. Okay. So if it costs $3 million and you're bringing in, recouping $12.82 million, that seems like a good deal. Yeah, that sounds like a great deal. But it doesn't stop there. Because also with the town, you're going to have the massive unemployment. That's what TED's coming to solve partly. You have people that don't have jobs already. You have businesses that are going to continue going out of business because you have AI that's going to revolutionize and automate everything. So you're going to have an unemployment rate that's going to continue increasing. So for a town, that's like a nightmare because they only have so many resources. They're going to have to pay this welfare state. Where are they going to get the money from? They're going to go bankrupt. They're going to have to borrow from the federal government. That comes with ties. The national debt goes up, blah, 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 blah. So you don't want that. So what we're going to assume immediately is that we are going to bring the town to 10% unemployment. The town's probably at 3 or 4% because economy is fairly good right now. It hasn't crashed yet. So we're going to tell the town, we're actually going to bring you to 10. Oh my God, Anthony, why would you do that? Do you think that's a good pitch? You're going to come into my town and tell me you're going to unemploy people? Yeah, I am. But not because like I'm just throwing them and kicking them out of a job. Because the jobs that they have, we're going to automate. There's no reason for them to be in that job. Well, Ant, if you go ahead and do that, you're really helping the businesses and you're hurting the people. I know, great, stay with me. That's where the AI agency comes in. Because the AI agency is going to then hire every single person in your town that's unemployed. So 10% of 10,000 is 1,000. We're going to hire all of these people at $25 an hour full time. Well, Anthony, how much does that come out to? 25 an hour equals 52,000 a year salary, comes out to 52 million a year. Well, Ant, you said it cost 3,000, you're bringing in 12 million, that's kind of cool, but now you just blew it all up. I know, that's fine. So the people that are a part of this, now, remember, the town now has no one unemployed. Everyone in the town is coming into money. Do you think towns like that? Do you think their tax roll likes that? Do you think the tax receipts like that? They love that. This guy's like happier than a pig in POOP. Like he's the happiest person in the world. We're not that happy because we're spending all this money, but are we not? Right? We are very happy. Because these individuals are now directly improving and adding value to the businesses. So this 12.82 million is just talking about money that's recouped, money that's already leaving that can stay in. That doesn't account for all of the additional revenue that's going to come in because these companies are now going to have the AI services to know how to automate and scale their businesses in such a way that they never did. So now every business in the town is quite simply booming because every business in the town has free access to these individuals to upgrade their services. And these businesses are going to say, I could never do this without you. Ted, Mike, Frank, Joan, Melissa, whatever your name is. We want to hire you into our business from the AI agency. So this AI agency number is only going to be at 10% at the beginning. It's constantly going to come down because these individuals are going to be hired by the businesses or they're going to start their own businesses. Because I can promise you, if you have an entire year of cutting edge, industry leading, revolutionary AI education, you're gonna say, why am I making 25 an hour when I could just like make like 100,000 a month from my home, in my pajamas, in my boxers, eating Doritos, and whatever people do. So this number will scale down. Okay, great, so that will come down. But even still. So how does TED make money on all this? Because TED doesn't, like we're just recouping money there. This is revenue, this isn't profit, this isn't even a subscription, this is just a number. So TED is going to charge 75% of the new profit per business. Anthony, 75% is a lot of money. Yeah, I know. On new profit. So for instance, I'm a business owner. My business is like, I actually am a business owner, right? Duh. So let's say I wasn't a business owner and I'm giving an example of being a business owner. I'm a business owner and my business is doing horrible. My things aren't selling, inflation is killing me, people are buying things online, the economy's not doing so well, blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. I am struggling, I'm probably gonna have to declare bankruptcy, I'm super scared, I have a family, okay. So now someone comes to me and says, hey, listen, not only are we going to stabilize your business, not only are we going to give your business access to free AI individuals that are in your town. So like that guy Joe that lives down the block that's a complete knucklehead, we're going to train him to be your best friend. You're gonna have free access to him and he's going to upgrade and integrate and whatever your entire business. It's gonna scale it. In fact, you're not even gonna have to have all the people that you hired and you're going to get new business, you're going to scale it outside of whatever. We're gonna do all that for you. All we ask is that of all the new profit you make, everything you have, you keep. Everything, like for the last year, whatever you've been making, that's your baseline. That's yours. All the new profit, your subscription to TED is 75%, which means you're gonna still make 25% more than you're making currently. Plus, you're going to have the strongest business that you ever thought possible. We get the other 75%, but that 75% doesn't go to me. It's not like I'm a business tycoon. That is going directly to all the individuals that are in the UI, the unemployment, the AI agency. This is going to data spend, and how's it going to them? It's going through the TED stock. So all the money that TED brings in, TED purchases that stock. That stock is then distributed to all the users, plus it's distributed as payroll for the individuals of the AI agency. So the 75% that I'm talking to you about, that's not even going to corporate greed. It's going to everyone in your own town that's making it possible. So basically everyone in your town got together and said, hey, listen, we have a system. We're going to make sure your business is good. We're going to make sure it's the strongest it can ever be. And we're going to make sure your revenues and profits increase 25%. Are you okay with that? That's all yours to keep. The other 75% that we're going to do is going to fund everything that I just told you. Is that cool? Yeah, duh. Okay, great. So even though 75% is a large number, 75% of what? 75% of a future that you can't get yourself, that you can either go road left, which is a complete destruction, or road right, which is a renaissance that you've never even thought possible. I think that's okay. Okay. So when you put all the numbers together, and actually before we do that, so this $25 a month, what is it? It's tech spend, it's data spend. Now, data spend is high currently because AI is brand new. Anyone that knows anything about tech knows tech optimizes and becomes more efficient every single year. I forgot whose law it is, but it was from the guy at Intel in like the 1960s. Tech basically increases efficiency, I think like 2.69% a year, something like that. Whatever. But this is all based on chips. They just need to make more chips, and then the data spend goes down because the people are buying the chips, they store it in their servers, and then they offer it as a service. Okay. Which means over the next 5 years, we believe this will scale 80% lower to 20% total. So this 25 a month will probably only be $5 a month. More so, this 10% recoup, what is that? This is the money that's already leaving the town. We're just saying that we believe on the low end, we can recoup 10% immediately. Do you think TED could do that? If everyone has a TED and it knows your intents and desires and makes recommendations within a 20-mile radius, does that seem possible? I think so. So does that not compound on itself? In what world do people say, no. I am just buying way too much stuff local. I don't actually like this whole supporting my locality. I don't like that clean park. I don't like that good school. I don't like any of this good. I need to send more money to Amazon. So this, I think, generously can move up to 80% over the next 5 years. 80%, that's such a large number. Well, unless you're willing to argue with me that what I just said makes no sense to you, this is actually quite feasible. And then this UI. Think about it. We're coming to the town and telling them that we're going to blow up their unemployment immediately and bring it to 10%. What happens to those individuals? They get hired by the businesses or they start their own business. Meaning, do we see, is there a reasonable expectation that this UI is going to stay stagnant or even go higher? Right? Like if we come in and say, okay, we're going to make sure unemployment is doubled and 10%, what reasonable expectation or argument can you make to me and say, well, Ann, a year from now, that's going to go even higher. Despite everything that you're doing and despite the education, unemployment's going to go higher. Why? I don't think you have an answer. And not you, but like when you see me live, I'm a fighter. Like, anyway. So I think it's quite reasonable to believe that this will decrease naturally to a natural unemployment rate, which is probably around 2%. I think 2% of people just want to be unemployed. They'll stay in here, they'll get comfortable there, they'll work there. And plus this place sees managers and stuff anyway, so 2% I think is fine, maybe even 3%. But the numbers I did were 2% over 5 years. And I'm going to show you where those numbers come into play, but just remember where they're coming from. And then TED, the 75% new profit. Okay, great. So let's go 5 years out. New money. Well, 102.56 million. Where does that come from? This 12.82 times 8. 80% of the money recouped, just recouped with the multiplier effect. In 5 years, we reasonably believe a town can see 102.56 million recouped within circulation. It's a pretty big number. What are the margins on that recouped business? Now, this was a number that I actually was a little hesitant to put, 75%. Because I think it's high, but I think it's not high enough. Let me explain. If I said to you, okay, 100 million of new revenues coming into a town and 75% of it's gonna be profit, you're like, Ant, you have no idea about business. There's, if I could squeak out a profit, I'm happy. Usually it's gonna be 51, 52%, especially in a local business, Fine, but now add AI to it. Remember, the whole shebang of everything is optimizing with AI as the revolution unfolds going forward. So all of the new business is going to be optimized and automated. In fact, I think the 75% could probably be 90%. Because the whole point is that no one's gonna have a job anyway. We just wanna be ahead of it to make sure that people are in the proper position, that when that reality happens, we're all built it together rather than woke up to it, right? Like, we moved there, we didn't end up there. So let's say 75%. That means TED is coming into $76.92 million in 5 years as a subscription fee. It's pretty good. Okay. Actually, that's wrong because it's 75% of 75%. So take 75% of this number. I don't have a calculator, quick math. I don't know, 60 million, let's say, I think is around 58, somewhere over there. So let's say this is, do I have a marker? Like, where did I put this thing? I know I came in with it. Hold on a sec. Oh, you know what? I'll use this. Okay. So let's say this is like 60 million. Okay. So the UI, which is 52 million, when you scale it down to 2% from 10%, you get 10.4 million, right? So 2% unemployment equals this, 10% unemployment equals this. Very simple math. If 10% is, if 10% is equaling this, and you're looking for 2%, 2% of 10% is 20%, so divide this by 5, there you go. I'm not sure that made it any simpler, but that's what my brain is like. The data spend, if you bring the data spend cost down to 20% of what it is, you have 600,000, which means the total cost, can I do math at all? Comes out to 11 million. Okay. So you have 60 million coming in, 11 million going out, which is net 49 million, which obviously I could not do math. Hey, now you know it's a real live video, right? So 49 million. But where does this 49 million go? It goes to the TED stock. Where does the TED stock go to? All the TED users. Who's the TED users? Remember this? Come on, did I not write it anywhere? Oh, remember these 10,000? That's who owns it, the TED users. As you send money to the TED stock, the stock goes up. As you send the stock to the users, people are receiving money. As you constantly compensate these individuals, you're going to constantly have more users, more TED stock, more buyers, which goes to the 49 million, but it'll go more and more and more. Now, because this TED stock is publicly listed, once anybody sees what we're doing with this one town, what are they going to do? Whoa, do you see what Rhino's doing in town Timbuktu? I want to own that stock because if I own the stock, then I own the growth of what they're doing. Then you start bringing in collaborators. You bring in this big money person, this one, and not because we called them, but because they called us. Hey, we see what you're doing. Can we give you 100 million? We want to go ahead and buy more. And now we have more money than we even know what to do with because they want to own the stock. This isn't the stock, right? They want to own the stock because the stock is the thing that constantly moves up. So now that we've done this with this town, and again, I mean, this is a 49 million net margin. So there's things that can go wrong. And there's gonna be things that we learn. But when you have the mayor behind you, this guy tells the whole town, hey, listen, these guys at Rhino are gonna do something great for us. Because you're paying the users, which are the 10,000, you have collaborators and all of the citizens, all of the management, and you have a good ethical, moral basis of what you're doing. When you collaborate business with moral, with ethics, with elected officials, with all of the constituents in an equality setting, things might go wrong, but guess who's on the same team? everyone. So now this town is like, we want to be the shiny beacon on the hill. We want to be the one that scales. We want to be the one that the whole world sees. This town becomes this town, becomes this town, becomes... I always wanted to do that. So I hope this makes sense. I'm not going to edit it. I want to get this email out. And this is, I don't even know what I look like. I've been doing this for quite some time. But yeah, love you all. And I hope this email is cool for Sunday, right? Bye.